I ignored this for several days and I don't know why. I apologize if my audio sounds a bit weird to you. It's been doing that to me for quite some time. I think either it's my microphone or something is dying, but that's that. Anyway, this is Going Medieval update. They're talking about adding fire. They've been talking about this for a while, but now they're getting to work on it. And I'm very terrified because I require flames to keep warm, but if flames kill, then flames no be good except when they are needed. And when they are needed, they no be good. I know that didn't make any sense, but let's go ahead and read this here. So, greetings, medievalist. Things are heating up because fire is coming in the next update. Let's dive into fire logic and how we developed it. We did a similar breakdown when working on water behavior, and you all seem to enjoy that. Hopefully you'll find this just as interesting and maybe even learn something new. We needed a fire mechanic that works similar to real-life situations but can be adapted to work well inside our game world. For inspiration, we looked at the forest fire models, which are used to simulate actual forest fires, in order to determine where a fire would likely start, how quickly, and in what direction will it spread. How much heat will it generate? Easy see. Forest fire models are usually developed as code, often documented and studied in research papers, and sometimes accompanied by guides, data, or software tools for practical use in wildfire management. This simulation slides prevent fire occurrences and additional financial damage. You know, I'm gonna be honest here. I'd love to be able to work as an intern on this company just to get the information I need on how to make a game. Like, they're learning themselves, but I'm terrible at learning, and I really want to make my own game too, so badly. It's just, I don't know. I haven't been able to find any jobs that are close by or that actually pay. But, you know, I've been sitting around with all this learning. I didn't really graduate due to my health, but man, I wish I could. I could technically get my associate's degree. That I could just go for that, but still. But anyway, fire propagation is typically simulated using two main approaches: cellular automata and wave propagation. Here's a simplified breakdown of both. Take the Going Medieval grid system, where each square represents a voxel and something like grass, tree, or a wall. With cellular automata, think of each square or cell on the grid as a little computer that follows simple rules. For example, a square might say, if one of my neighbors is on fire, I'll catch on fire too. Then the fire spreads from square to square across the grid. Each cell just looks at its neighbors and updates itself, and by doing this over and over, you can see how the fire grows and moves across the whole grid. With wave propagation, think about when you drop a stone into a pond and see ripples spreading out. That's a bit like wave propagation. In a fire model, instead of waterways, we're imagining fireways. When one part of the forest catches fire, this wave of fire moves outwards. It spreads from the burning area in all directions, like the ripples from the stone, but faster or slower depending on conditions like wind or fuel. More trees. For Going Medieval, we went with using just the cellular automata approach because it works on a 2D grid. Now Going Medieval terrain is made out of voxels, which is a 3D grid, but it's easy to add a third dimension into the existing algorithm. Having fantastic programmers helps too. These models are generally simpler and require less computer power. This makes them ideal for quick simulations, where you can change the rules to explore different fire behaviors without needing complex calculations. It's easy to add randomness due to its adaptability to different patterns. Cellular automata is great for capturing irregular patterns of fire spread, like when the fire jumps between patches of vegetation or changes shape due to obstacles. It handles these kinds of messy patterns better than wave propagations, which is more suited for smooth, continuous waves. Our version of the fire mechanic is adapted to the game world. That way it runs in real time and can work with other systems in the game. To ensure the fire magic works smoothly with other game systems, we start by developing the algorithm as a standalone project. This allowed for fast experimentation and iteration in the early stages. All voxels that have fire on them are updated across multiple frames. If we updated the fire on every single frame, it would look like it's moving super quickly and could end up spreading too fast or looking too intense. Instead, the game only updates the fire's behavior every 3 to 4 frames. This means the fire isn't constantly changing, just changing every few frames, but it looks smooth and realistic. By updating the fire only every few frames, the game saves a bit of power, so it runs better, without you noticing any big difference. Since fire doesn't suddenly grow really fast in this game, you won't see any delay in the fire growing, so even though the fire updates 3 or 4 times less often than other things, it looks like it's burning smoothly, just like real fire. For going medieval, it doesn't need to be updated every frame, but it needs to be updated frequently enough so the fire doesn't appear like it's lagging. Alright, the fire mechanic sees the whole world as a 3D grid, with each voxel having these properties, so basically fire could go downwards, I guess. Voxel health, anything burnable, trees, grass, buildings, has health greater than 0. Flammability indicates how fast things should burn. Flame intensity represents size and strength of fire and is between the range of 0.0 and 1.0. If the value is greater than 0, fire will burn. It will appear as a small fire with less strength if it has lower values. The closer it gets to 1.0, the bigger the size is and its strength. Wetness affects voxels that are moist. This moisture slows down burning, may even stop it. With that being said, here's the fire logic and theoretical action. Algorithm passes through all the voxels that are detected to be in a burning state. Flame intensity of one voxel will be increased if there's something burnable on the voxel, like a wooden wall on the grassy ground, or be decreased if nothing is burnable at the voxel. Very wet ground, flammability is used to boost flame growth, but wetness slows it down. Rain and snow also slow down the flame growth here. Water puts out fire almost instantly. What if it's oil? That's my question. You know, there's this thing called fat. You know, people actually used animal fat to make oil. It's one of the things that they use to make oil, and I think it was also used to make candles. No, that was just the beeswax, but it was a useful thing that people used. I think they used animal fat for other things too. I just don't remember. But anyway, back to this. After a certain time, fire tries to spread to neighboring voxels. On one hand, we don't need it to spread after every time flame intensity is updated. That would burn your settlement too fast, and we like to have fun in our game. On the other hand, it requires more calculations than decreasing flame intensity, so it's better to do it as rarely as possible. Game designer is going to play around with this and come up with appropriate value. Here is the video of that in action on a 2D surface. Okay. Wow. That's extremely rapid, by the way. Interesting enough, there are fires that do start, but well, I'll just ignore that. But normally just go out almost instantly, and the reason for that is because trees actually do have a better resistance to fire than you actually realize. And one of the reasons for that is the trees are sucking up nutrients from the ground, and they usually carry more water inside them. It's the dead trees that are more likely to cause forest fires. So if a forest is just covered in dead trees, like my house kind of is right now, I really need to clean it up. But if the place is like really covered in dead trees, and like those things are practically dry unless they're rotting, then they're not that dry. This is Mississippi, so it's very easy for them to get wet again, and certain bacteria to grow on them. But in slightly drier places, the dead wood is more likely to be dry. So much so that you could very easily accidentally start a forest fire if you're not careful. One of the reasons why California has forest fires a lot is due to the fact that they don't like to get rid of their dead trees because, I don't know. They have so-called environmentalists who I don't believe they're environmentalists. I think they're environmental terrorists, in my opinion. But they also have foreign trees there in California. We have foreign trees here, by the way, but that's not the worst of it. And like, we have foreign trees, but the foreign plants that we have are a lot worse. It's these vine things that grow everywhere. It's like a whole sea of these leafy things, and those are very dangerous. They kill a lot of your plants, and they can actually consume animals. Like, not necessarily like consume, but when the animals get in there, they can easily get stuck, and they can never just get out unless someone can get in there and help them. It's actually such a huge issue here. But in California, they have a tree problem where a lot of their trees are just foreign, and because of that kind of hurts the ecosystem, and it also, they're more likely to catch fire, so that there's that problem. So as I was saying, a wet tree, like I said, if it's in its environment where it's supposed to be, that tree is less likely to catch fire than a foreign tree. And if there's a dead tree there, dead tree itself is more likely to catch fire than a live tree. I hope my explanation made sense, but anyway, and this one's supposedly 3D rendering. Wow, look how quickly it spreads. Now, fire does not always spread like this, I'm gonna be honest. I've done a lot of controlled fires. We're in the city now, unfortunately, which pisses me off. But I used to, we have a lot of rubbish that I used to clean up a lot. Because like I said, we have a lot of trees, and I have to clean it up. And the best way I clean it up is I grab all the branches, I grab some of the dead trees, I bring them all together, and I burn them. And sometimes you can, I always bring a hose with me, but sometimes you can see where the fire goes. If you put it in the center, and there's like maybe grass around somewhere, if you put it in the center, it's not going to spread evenly. Fire does not necessarily do that. It can go like one way or the other. Like, if you put it so everything so perfectly attached to each other, so it should look like it's supposed to spread evenly, it won't. It's very interesting. The only places where I've seen it do that for the most part is actual I think gunpowder and oil. You throw it in a certain part and it spreads evenly, but in like forest or something, it doesn't. And the reason for that is, like I said, it is other plants might have more resistance to the flames than others, and like sticks that are drier, or if they're more thin, they're less likely to burn as well sometimes. I say sticks, I'm saying they're these branches, they usually still have water in them, versus a bigger branch that is dry. That bigger branch actually burns quicker than the smaller branch, because that smaller branch is just still contains water in it, despite the fact you kind of removed it from things and left it for a couple months. But that's kind of like how fire works. In Fire and Game Test, it's getting there. We'll use existing fire assets, i.e. the one for the campfire, and use it within our game world. Let's see how it looks now. That spreads extremely fast. So it doesn't look like it does damage to players yet, but you can see how it spreads. It's extremely even, except for the patches. You can see that. This would normally destroy the grass, but a lot of times, like I said, the fire can be pretty unpredictable, and it's just like if you tried it. Let's say there was grass. You put it on grass, because I've done this before. You probably shouldn't do this at home. But I've done this for several times where there's grass and I try to catch a fire. That one doesn't spread evenly either. It's how do I explain it? I guess it's the placement of the grass, where each grass grows bigger and some grows smaller. Some are like have more water, some don't, and some just put out the fire altogether. So like I said, plants that contain water are more likely to put out the fire. So let's say you try to use some torch and you try to put the grass on fire. You'll see big flames at first, but if that grass is like properly watered, certain parts are more likely to go out quicker, while other parts that have less water in them are still going to burn, but the flames start becoming less and less intense. I've seen this before. It's actually kind of fun to do. I'm going to be perfectly honest, but before my house became a part of the city, I used to do that, and I got to see a lot of cool stuff. And this is like, I don't know. It's just very interesting. You get to know how fire works. But if you do this in the summer, of course, you might like burn your entire patch of grass. So I wouldn't really recommend that. I shouldn't recommend it at all, but I had to say it is very interesting to watch. Anyway, so recap. Spreading fire goes through all already burning voxels and finds all the neighbors the fire could spread to. For spreading to occur, those neighbors should not have fire on them, should be flammable, and have health greater than 0. Should not have too much wetness on them. Also, flame intensity should be higher than 0.4 to be able to spread fire to its neighbors. If the voxel passes all of these tests, it catches fire. Its flame's intensity will become larger than 0. This is how fire works in a nutshell, but without proper visuals, it looked like this. Oh wow, look at that fire. Did anyone die in there? So you can see those patches of grass right there. I think those patches of grass should be taken notice of. The drier those patches of grass get, the more dangerous they are. And I think they should have more patches of those grass to grow. And the reason why I say that is it gives you an incentive to have to cut that grass. I mean, you technically don't need it actually, but you have to figure out how to get rid of all that stuff. But it gives you an incentive to have to cut that grass for the sake of not being burned alive. Then the guys also have to add something like, if you're having like too much of certain stuff, you gotta burn it somehow. So some kind of furnace that gets rid of excess items for whatever reason. I think that would be important. So as the fire burns, it gradually damages the objects around it. However, to keep the game running smoothly, this damage isn't applied immediately inside the fire system. Instead, fire damage is collected and applied later outside the main fire logic to avoid slowing down the game. The game waits a few frames before applying this accumulated damage to objects in the world, which helps spread out the computational work when the damage is finally applied. I feel like I feel like these guys are teaching me how to program. This is kind of exactly how they would talk, and well, a competent teacher would talk in programming. Some teachers just spout bullshit for whatever reason, but had this teacher was talking about, before you put your program, you gotta think about this, and this. It was technically my Java teacher, actually. When I was learning Java, I did have my C++ teacher was amazing too. I'm gonna be honest. That guy was amazing. He just, like, you run into a problem and he fixes it immediately. That guy's a genius. He also worked at, like, what was it? At that children's hospital. I don't know. I can't remember the name. But that guy was basically a genius, and he made more sense than any of the teachers I met in, like, when I started going to Ole Miss. I don't know. He's just a more competent teacher, and he gets paid less than teachers at universities. I swear that guy just well, actually, he is getting paid a lot. He works at, like, a hospital basically. So, and I think his teaching is like a part-time job or a hobby or something. But that guy's amazing. He was an amazing teacher. I can't remember his name, but he's a good teacher. Anyway, because of the fire data. Because of this, fire data will be stored in a save file the same way we store water, separated from data of all other game systems. That means if you get into an overwhelming heated situation and don't want to deal with it in gameplay wise, you will be able to delete all the fire from your save. More on that once the update goes live. But there is also still so much to talk about. This was just we hope it was fun talk about fire movements. Next week we'll discuss how to control fire spreading in the game. While you wait, let us know if this MMT was understandable as it is. I'm gonna rate this up because this is actually a good lesson to learn for programmers. Actually, this is actually a very good lesson. So see you in 7 days, and until then, stay medieval. Thank you, Foxy Foxel. This is very informative. I liked it. I learned more than I ever did in college, and I'm very serious about that. Anyway, that was this medieval Monday Talk number 53 read through. You don't know what this is. Oh, those are just patches. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. Read through, and I hope you look forward to the new updates with the fire, and I hope you get to have fun causing fires. But in any case, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, or follow if you enjoyed and wish for more. I will see you guys next time.